Hello there guys, welcome back to ShootOut, welcome back to a brand new video. We hope you're all doing well, that's how I normally say it on my channel. George, how you doing mate, as we get ready to talk about Champions League, a competition Chelsea are not in this year.
Yep, I know. Well, I thought instead of just like having a total non-Chelsea video, we did upload a Chelsea video earlier today, rounding up the stuff about Chelsea Arsenal, the positive energy around the club right now. But yeah, it pains me to say it. Like, you know, I live in Bali. It's 3 o'clock in the morning when the football's on, the Champions League. And if it isn't Chelsea, and it's not like a final or Real Madrid, Bayern Munich or something like that, I ain't going to get up and watch it, to be fair, because I don't want to ruin my whole sleep pattern. But I have watched all of the highlights. We're going to take a look at the groups, going to take a look at some of the big English teams, some very good results for English teams this week. In fact, I think everybody bar Newcastle picked up a victory. Eunice, do you want to start us off with the first one, mate?
Yeah, so obviously, as George has mentioned, go and check out that Chelsea video as me and George go into detail on the latest with our club. But yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't feel the same when Chelsea are not in this competition, does it? And I think the same can be said for Liverpool. But talking about the English teams that are in it, we are going to start off with Newcastle. I think that's only fair because Newcastle had a blinding result against PSG in the last match week of the Champions League. And they came into this game with, I think, all of us expecting them to maybe get something from this. And they didn't. Although the performance was actually decent and it was a very, very end-to-end open game. A beautiful Champions League game, I think, overall. But Dortmund got the job done. What are your thoughts on Newcastle losing at home to Dortmund? Do you think that dents their hopes of progressing to the knockouts?
I think this could be the definitive moment, potentially. Like, the Newcastle PSG game, the one where they won 4-1, was just emphatic because it's back at St James's Park. They couldn't have had, in my opinion, weirdly, a better first game to have at St James's. It's the toughest team in the group. Dortmund and Milan, this is the group of death. People look at this and like, if Newcastle don't go through, no one's really surprised. But then yesterday, I think that the home games at St James's are going to be so important. If you look back to the Milan away game, Newcastle were poor there. They were lucky to come away with a draw. And I think losing at home, it puts them now, I think, third in the group, level on points with Dortmund. PSG have won both of their other matches. I think they needed a result there because they go now away to PSG and away to Dortmund with Milan at home. All three of those games are incredibly hard, but to have to go to Dortmund and PSG, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe only came out with 1 point from those two matches. So I think for now, it might be tough for them to qualify from here.
Man, I like Newcastle. I really want them to do well. Chelsea are not in this competition. I need someone to back. And I'm looking at Newcastle going, come on, you lads. You know, come on the tune. Away, lads. It's just,
Away, the lads.
I'm looking, it's just... With Newcastle, I expected them to get a result here, as you said, at home. I'd like to hope that if they go away, they're really going to embrace it and, you know, embrace the stage because it's a Champions League. You go to, you know, you go to the Parc des Princes and you go to Dortmund and you go to these places, and for them, it's a big deal because it's the Champions League. So I'm hoping that's going to be the motivating factor. But yesterday, they didn't play badly. What's crazy is Dortmund looked like a team that were a lot more effective than PSG were at St James's. And I think that's not a surprise. I want to get your thoughts on that. I ain't shocked that Newcastle got a result against PSG the way they did. Maybe the scoreline was a bit crazy, but I kind of expected Dortmund to put up more of a performance than PSG. And that's probably more testament to Dortmund rather than just, not that I don't rate PSG, I just think they're not as great as people anticipate them to be. Do you know what I mean? So
I think they've just got so many egos, bro. Like, I think PSG, as soon as things get a bit tough, like, they're just going to capitulate. And you go into an atmosphere, a cauldron of noise like that, and it's like, well, no wonder they fell apart. No wonder when Eddie Howe marks Mbappe out of the game, everyone else is like, no one's going to flip and do it for you, mate. Whereas Dortmund, I think, are more of a team. So I think that's why I'm not surprised that they went there and got a result. And they had to grind for it. They were dominated in possession. Newcastle dominated the ball. And they got their goal. Great timing as well, just before the break. So I think Dortmund will be absolutely over the moon with that.
It was a good goal as well, and
Yeah.
I would say poor marking. That defending wasn't there when they were playing against PSG because they were super tight. But for the Dortmund goal, very, very loose. Player basically on the edge of the box by himself or just in the box. Slots it in very comfortably, and it's 1-0. And after that, they weren't getting a sniffing. So, yeah, Newcastle going to have to look forward and get those results away from home, as George has alluded to. Talking about away from home, we'll focus on the same group very quickly. PSG AC Milan. This finished 3-0 to PSG. I've just been running down PSG and saying how they're not effective, but they got the result against AC Milan. They needed that, didn't they?
Yeah, I think after that Newcastle result, and I think this is one of those groups that will be so tight that the results against each other will be very important, and to get big wins is also important. AC Milan did have chances though, which you'd expect with the quality of players that they've got. Pulisic also looked pretty bright again as well. But I just think with PSG, some games they're going to blow teams away. I just think when it gets to the meat and potatoes of the competition, I don't think they've got the minerals for it, mate.
No, and AC Milan are a team that are very, very hot and cold. Very hot and cold. And yesterday they were cold. And I think a big problem with them is their midfield. They let go of Tonali. They've got Benassa who's injured. And that was a core for them. Since those two players haven't been there at AC Milan, they've just got this hole in the midfield despite a great attack. But they get exploited time and time again. And PSG at home had control and fair play. They needed a bounce back. They got one. Good goals from Kolo Muani and from Mbappe. But they come out 3-0 winners. And as you said, PSG top of the group, AC Milan bottom, Newcastle, Dortmund somewhere in between. So it's going to be a very interesting end to the Champions League for the last 3 games, see how that's going to run down. Now, if we move to the English teams, let's focus on an English team that have returned to the Champions League, and that's Arsenal. They picked up a win. And, it's going pretty, decent for them, despite losing 1 game in the group, but they're sitting top. Your thoughts on their 2-1 win at Sevilla?
I think it's always a difficult place to go. And I also think that it is, again, Arsenal were good. But I also think that right now, I still look at this Arsenal team and think Arteta has got more gears that he can get out of this team that he has right now. And I think when it comes to maybe knockout football, I would not be surprised if Arsenal go really far in the competition this year. I would not be surprised with the way that they play that if they could get to a semi-final. I look around the rest of the competition. I reckon so. I think they're going to go far.
I mean, Arsenal fans will love you for that. Gooners, let us know in the chat, how far do you think you guys are going to make it in the Champions League? But yesterday, look, it wasn't the most beautiful performance, but it was super effective. Super effective.
Yeah.
The way they went 1-0 up through the Martinelli goal, a very good goal as well. Fantastic ball into his path. It was great. Who got the assist? I forgot who got the assist. But he managed to turn in between the midfielders that were around him, send the ball off to Martinelli, 1-on-1, basically easy pickings for that. Gabriel Jesus making it 2, and then they slip up immediately after that in order for the 2-1. But they stayed in control. And that's, as you allude to, if you do that in the Champions League enough times, you're going to go far. So that is just how it is. They're sitting top, so fair play to them. They need to keep that up because they did slip up at the very beginning. As long as they don't slip up again, there should be a group that they have complete control of. It's not the hardest group in the world. So Arsenal, 2-1 winners. Manchester United. They won.
This is funny.
Right? But what the hell is going on, man? Your thoughts?
Bro, honestly, the way that this story is played out is so funny because, like you said, they're not playing good. They're not playing well at all. They're really, really not. And then somehow, when history books will tell you about how Manchester United beat Copenhagen at Stamford Bridge, somehow, amidst all of this, and they keep doing this, like we said in the review of the Premier League, Harry Maguire scores the goal, and Onana makes a sensational penalty save. So
in the last minute,
I don't know why, but I've just got a little funny feeling about what the significance of this in the universe means for Man United, where it's like, you're all laughing at us. We know we're absolutely dog poo. However, the 2 players that you would say are kind of like the scapegoats of the comedy, which is watching Manchester United struggle, they have both just turned up and just put the middle finger up at the lens of every single camera and voice and eyes and ears that are having anything to say about them in the world. You should be beating Copenhagen at Old Trafford relatively easily, significantly easily, but they did. So I mean, like, who am I to say? Well done.
As you said, look, with a way to get a result and the way that they did it, yeah, Harry Maguire getting the winner, Onana saving a last-minute penalty. It's like the world's flipped on its head. But a win's a win. It wasn't a good performance overall, though, man. And United fans were frustrated up until the goal. And you could see why. That's against Copenhagen. They needed to win. If they didn't win, you could just say they're out of the competition now. But
yeah,
they got a win. Yeah. Look, Bayern Munich are top of that group with 9 points. Galatasaray are still ahead of them on a point, but it gives the chance for Manchester United now. They got to go to Turkey. They've got to welcome Bayern Munich to Old Trafford. They still need results, and if they don't, they're getting eliminated. So it's a start. They have to claw out against the bigger teams, though. So, and if that's the way they're going to play, like they did against Copenhagen, they're not going to get it. So they need to improve. And I've said this about Man United. I just don't think they're stable as a club. It's not even about what's happening on the pitch. It's what's happening off it that's not helping them on it. And as well as the problems they have on it, it's just, they're hanging by a thread. And honestly, they might qualify for the next round. There's a good chance they won't, though. Do you think they'll make it?
Do you know what? I think the fact that Galatasaray and Copenhagen drew the match that they played, if Galatasaray would have won that game, I'd say no, because then they'd be 3 points ahead of United, and I wouldn't be surprised if United got like a 1-0 win, best result at Galatasaray. I think United could go to Galatasaray and win. I think Bayern Munich will smash them at Old Trafford, and then I think they'll go to Copenhagen and grind out a result as well. And I think they might end up going through by like a point. I think, if I can do my maths correctly. I think they'll scrape through, which I think that's just kind of like the story of the moment for Man United, really. They're just like slowly keeping their name out of everybody's mouths in a negative light. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
no, you're completely right. I think the game at Galatasaray will be key. You get that
They have
result,
to win that game.
Yeah, then chances are you're going through. If you don't, you're out. As far as I'm concerned. So it's going to be very interesting. It's that is it. Man City. Now, Man City, I have to be honest, at the first half against Young Boys, they didn't look good whatsoever. But it's Manchester City, there's tons of quality, and they get a 3-1 win. Your thoughts?
I mean, if you look at the stats, I think they had like 14 shots on target, which for a Man City team that are not playing very well, that's absolutely mental.
It's crazy.
Credit to Young Boys, actually, for the goal, because that is an unbelievable goal. Like, the pass
Fantastic
is amazing.
Goal. Yeah.
The run, I think his name is Elia or something like that. And that little dink, bro, I thought he was going to start rounding Edison, and I was about to start giving him a very, very nice clap, because we've all seen what happens with that before. But he's like, no, I don't even need to do that. Just little dinkaroonie over the top. It was lovely. Haaland scores a penalty. What do you expect, really? City, I think they'll go all the way again. And I think it's one of those games where, they didn't play very well.
Do you reckon?
History will tell us. They scored 3. I just don't think that European football is at the standard that it once was over the course of the continent in terms of the levels. So I just think the English clubs, could back themselves against most teams, really.
You make a good point here. And about that goal for Young Boys, completely correct. I was watching, and I swear, when he was in on goal, I kid you not, I was going, chip it. And he chipped it. He dunked, because it was the perfect thing to do in that moment, and his instinct kicked in. Beautiful finish. But Man City, as you said, they get the result. Yeah, they had 26 shots and 14 of them on target. And they got 3. So, it's a return at the end of the day. But you're right. The lack of competition in the Champions League in Europe right now helps Man City. It's very, very difficult to go back-to-back in Europe, right? And as well as that, try and go back-to-back in the league, which is why I'm saying they're not going to do what they've done last season. It's borderline impossible. Not impossible, but close, in order to maintain that. They've done the treble last year. They're not going to do the treble this year. It would be crazy if they did. But can they go all the way in Europe again? Yeah, it's possible, because there isn't anyone else that stand out. So it's bonkers. It's bonkers. Now, those are the English teams. We've rounded all of them up. We'll focus. We've spoken about PSG and AC Milan. Quick mention of Real Madrid and Barcelona, I think, because it's deserved. Real Madrid, there's one player I've got to focus on here. They beat Braga 2-1 away from home, so they got the job done, and they're sitting comfortably top. 3 wins from 3. Jude Bellingham scores again. Mate, what is he on?
Bro, you know what? I think you take a superstar and you put a superstar in a team renowned for superstars, and you get what you see with Jude Bellingham. Like, Real Madrid is Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham is just simply an unbelievable footballer. There's a reason why Birmingham just retired his shirt number when he was a flipping teenager. It's because they just knew, because they saw all of his development up until that point, and they just knew that we're talking about a player that will go down in history. I honestly think, give it a few more years, 5-6 years, people will be able to say Jude Bellingham's name in a sentence with Zidane, a sentence with Lampard, a sentence with Scholes.
It's possible, you know.
Gerrard.
It's possible, yeah.
I really think he is that good. I think Jude Bellingham is the best player in the world right now. By a long way. I don't think there's anybody close to him right now. I think he's unbelievable.
Yep, I've said the same. I think he is the most informed player in the world without question. Without question. And if he does that consistently, this is what I'm saying, it's all down to consistency. You do that enough times, you'll be in the shout for Ballon d'Or. You just will. And it's not even the case of, he's just being fed everything. Like, he is doing a lot for club and country. We saw the man of the match's performance that he was putting in for England as well. He's doing the same at Real Madrid week in, week out. League and Champions League. He's unstoppable right now. So, yeah, I think it's only right to focus on Jude Bellingham and what he's doing at Real Madrid, and he's really helping the team. Ancelotti's getting the best out of him, so fair play, but unbelievable performances from him. 2-1 winners, Real Madrid. They're sitting top. What do you think of Real Madrid? Do you think they're good enough to go pretty far, or do you see any roadblocks in their team at the moment?
I mean, I think Real Madrid are always good enough to go all the way, and they probably will. Unless they get a nasty... I think the way that the groups are going at the minute, I think Real Madrid will easily get through to the quarters, semis, as they usually do. And I think Bellingham is that, I hate to say it, X factor that they've needed. I think there's always been this worry across the continent in recent years that the Premier League, because of the money, because of City predominantly, are just going to absolutely run away with it, and it's kind of just going to be like a free-for-all between the English teams as who wins the Champions League. Real Madrid will always be there. They absolutely will. They have more European pedigree, obviously, than any other club in the history of the competition. And I think Bellingham is that guy. And I would not be surprised if they got to a final. If they can avoid City, would not be surprised if they won it again. Good result yesterday, though.
Yeah, very, very good result. And we'll see how far they go. The other Spanish lot, Barcelona, or well, they wouldn't want me to say that, the Catalans, Barcelona, winning 2-1 at home against Shakhtar Donetsk. They're sitting top, just like Real Madrid, 3 wins from 3. What do you think of Barcelona? Are they on a resurgence, or do you just think they've got easy pickings against the teams they're coming up against?
I just don't think Barcelona are anywhere near as good as they once were. So when it comes to no, of course, a Champions League conversation, yeah, I expect them to beat most teams, but I don't see them going very far. I think there are teams that will be a lot better and stronger than them in knockout football now. It's not the Barcelona of the past. They don't have that same spine and quality that they once did. So I think for them at the minute, they're doing well. Xavi's got them playing good football again. It's kind of like they're exciting, but I think overall, the amount of quality that is in that squad is underwhelming compared to the Barcelonas that we know.
No, you're completely right. I mean, Barca of old would have probably spanked Shakhtar Donetsk 5-0, if we're being honest. But wins breed wins, and that breeds confidence, and that breeds, things that might eventually grow and develop. So for what Barcelona are doing now, credit to them, because they can only do what they're coming up against. Can they keep that up? That remains to be seen. So we'll see. They're sitting top. I expect them to go through, but the knockout stages is where we're really going to test them. So let's see what happens. The other results, just to mention them. So Galatasaray 1, Bayern Munich 3, Inter Milan 2, Salzburg 1. Expected results. Lens PSV finishing 1-1. Benfica losing at home to Real Sociedad 1-0. Real Sociedad are doing really good things, League and Champions League. So fair play to them. Yeah. Feyenoord beating Lazio 3-1. Leipzig beating Belgrade 3-1, expected, and they'll go through, I reckon. Celtic and Atletico Madrid 2-2. Atletico Madrid going down to 10 men as well. So decent result for Celtic, I think, against a team like that. And Antwerp losing at home 4-1 to Porto. Expected as well. So that's your roundup for the Champions League. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. George, any last words?
Mate, no, I just bloody hope Chelsea are back there next year.
We better be. And I think, yeah, Liverpool will be saying the same. The Champions League isn't the same without us two. I do.
Sorry. Beat me out.
But there we are, guys. Thank you all so much. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.